What's up everyone, and welcome to another Hate Watchers breakdown and review. For those of you who are new here, what we want to do with this channel is simple. Review some of the latest shows and movies to let you, the fans, know if it's worth your valuable time. And to have a little fun while doing it. The idea for this channel was born out of watching studios and creators put out one mediocre show or movie after another and then attack the existing fandoms for not liking it. Relevant to today's video, Star Wars shows and movies over the last 5 or 6 years represent some of the most egregious examples of creators and corporations attacking fans for not silently swallowing the crap they tried to shove down our throat. Well, we figured if TV and movie studios aren't going to improve the products they're putting out, let's have some fun hate watching it and throwing the crap back at them. And of course, we'll let you know if the show or movie and its creators are actually doing it right and recommend that you go see it for yourself. Today, we're going over the 3-episode series premiere of Star Wars Andor, our first Star Wars show on the channel. Check out our video on the background for this show to get up to speed, and please like, comment, and subscribe to help our channel grow and keep the videos coming. We are a new channel, so any of this would be incredibly helpful in helping us grow. Without further ado, let's get into the episodes. Spoilers ahead for the first 3 episodes of Andor. We start off the series on a planet called Morlana 1, 5 years before the destruction of the Death Star, as we follow a shady-looking Cassian Andor speedwalking to a brothel. Andor goes in and pumps one of the workers. For information. A surly pair of fellow brothel enjoyers jump Andor, who proceeds to beat the shit out of them. Andor bumps one of them on the nose, which apparently kills him, so he has to murder the other one to encourage him to keep his mouth shut. We quickly make our way over to Ferrix, where we see a fire hydrant droid get peed on by a dog. Cutting to a flashback from Cassian's childhood, we find him as part of a Lord of the Flies situation as a village of children watch a starship crash nearby. Back to Morlana 1, this Boy Scout reports the murders to his superior. Clearly he's vying for the role of assistant to the regional manager. His boss knows the victims were dirty and wants to sweep it under the rug, and we learn that the corporation is just an extension of the Empire. Back on Ferrix, Andor wants his friend, Bix, to help him sell some contraband. The Boy Scout plays Battleship and is able to find a record of Cassian's ship in the logs. Bix's jealous boyfriend tries to follow her through the streets, probably because he looks like Alec Baldwin's thumb, and she's way out of his league. She heads to the nearest payphone to call her dealer. Returning to the flashback, we see young Andor leave his sister behind, and the episode comes to an end. Moving on to episode 2, entitled Episode 2, we immediately pick up where we left off with the Lord of the Flies Kenari crew walking past an abandoned quarry on their planet. Coming back to the present day, we're treated to a toothless tweaker banging out a drum solo. Bix's boyfriend Tim with 2 M's, the second M stands for mistrustful, reads her texts and sees the message about the Primor Authority looking for Andor. Someone's grandma freaks out that Cassian told someone that he's from the planet Kenari. Later, Tim with 2 M's, the second M stands for Malding, follows his smoking hot girlfriend to the bar, where he sees her meet with Cassian. Tim then chugs a 40 and snitches on Cassian to the authorities. The assistant to the regional manager recruits this bowling ball to go after Andor. The flashback returns as the villagers prepare to attack a crashed ship with sticks. We're introduced to Luthen Rael, who approaches the planet and makes a secretive landing. And the tweaker is back on the drums. Cutting to the flashback once again, one of the zombies at the shipwreck wakes up and shoots one of the villagers, and everyone is sad. We find out that Kenari was an Imperial mining planet and is now considered toxic. And problematic, and just a bad vibe in general. Deputy to the regional inspector, Cyril Karn, gives a trash motivational speech to this merry band of glorified mall cops. Then we get to see Andor in a random Rocky training montage, and the episode fades to black. On to the third and final episode, we pick up with the flashback where young Cassian enters the crashed starship to play with some dead bodies, and then he gets freaked out by Amir. Luthen Rael arrives to town and departs the shuttle on this droid that is literally just stairs. It turns out that Luthen is Bix's dealer, and he's in town for a big score. The Corpo Mall cops descend on Ferrix in their version of the Clone Troopers LAAT. Returning to the flashback, the grandma from earlier named Marva and the fire hydrant droid find a young Cassian having fun in a rage room. Marva pulls her best Hillary Clinton impression and kidnaps a local villager. Back to the present day, Boy Scout conducts a warrant on Marva's home and Cassian gives away his location on accident. Luthen meets with Andor to buy some of that good stuff. The local criminals then harass the security forces just trying to do their job. Tim with 2 M's, the second M stands for mole, makes it obvious to Bix that he ratted out Andor. Luthen is impressed with Andor's criminal abilities. He asks Andor how he acquired this magic mystery box, and Cassian rips the lines right out of the trailer, explaining that the Empire is too arrogant to even think someone as low as him could get all up in their shit. Luthen, ever tactful, insults Andor's dead father, then tries to recruit him. Winning strategy. Outside, the locals beat some sticks on some metal, which the whole town recognizes as a message to "Fuck the police!" Continuing his ballsy recruiting strategy, Luthen then destroys Andor's cell phone for fun. Bix gets arrested for being way too sexy for this town. After the mall cops find Luthen and Andor, a shootout ensues and this guy gets hilariously chain dragged. Andor gets shot, which is apparently not a problem. Okay. And he escapes with Luthen. Down the street, Bix experiences some police brutality. Tim with 2 M's, the second M stands for murder victim, gets murdered by the police. He made an aggressive movement towards me. Boy Scout walks into a building and fires upon some children. Marva is playing some mind games with the cops watching her, and she warns them of what happens when the clanking sound comes to a stop. Andor sneaks up on Karn and Luthen really wants to kill him. He offers to do it twice in 4 seconds. Cassian's friend Burly Brasso sabotaged the mall cops' escape ship and they realize they are surrounded. Luthen and Andor escape after Luthen turns a decoy speeder into an Afghani IED and blows up some cops. This guy is savage. Marva is sad knowing that Cassian is leaving. The police are freaking out that this routine arrest turned into a war zone. We see some telling parallels between young Cassian and present-day Cassian on a starship leaving the world he knows behind, and the credits are rolled to put the cap on the 3-episode series premiere. Wow, where to start with this show? First of all, this felt good. This felt different and familiar at the same time. The predictable, gritty, spy thriller tone of the show was on point throughout these 3 episodes, and it really feels like something we haven't experienced before in Star Wars. The sets looked great. They felt huge and extremely realistic. Now, there wasn't a ton of classic Star Wars imagery, aesthetic, or lore present here, but there was enough to know which universe you're in. And I'm sure later episodes will have a bit more classic Star Wars feel to them, but for now, the realistic and tense look and feel were a positive, refreshing take on Star Wars. Now, when I went back later and saw how long each episode was, I was surprised that the longest of the 3 was only 39 minutes, ignoring the fact that this is like the 5th Disney Plus Star Wars show to be billed as having hour-long episodes that aren't even close to that long. I will say that these episodes felt much longer than their 35-minute runtimes. Maybe it's just because I was taking notes and watching closely, but I can see how the feel of this show could suck people in and make them lose track of time. Episodes 1 and 2 were nothing to write home about looking back on them. They had some good moments, but their purpose is really just to set up this season's storylines. The payoff in episode 3 was pretty good. Not incredible, but good. This is probably why Disney wanted to have a 3-episode premiere. Worried that people could lose interest and tune out if they saw only episode 1 and 2 without the payoff of episode 3. One other nice thing, and this can change at any point during the season, is the show doesn't seem too concerned with making statements on current-day politics, a trap many shows fall into these days. Making overarching, generalized political statements is fine, but adapting your story to the specificity of the current thing in the news is a good way to make sure your show or movie doesn't stand the test of time. So far, nothing feels political, and that's a welcome relief when other current shows like Lord of the Rings: The Rings of Power couldn't go 10 seconds into its premiere without busting out the politics. On the negative side, beyond the boring episode 1 and 2, and a slight lack of familiar Star Wars imagery, thus far in the show the stakes definitely feel small. Obviously, this is setting up, hopefully, more important confrontations later in the season, but the point stands for these 3 episodes. By the end of their fighting, the mall cops really feel like just that, mall cops. They never felt like much of a threat, and the simple act of Andor leaving this planet didn't seem to warrant quite as much drama as these 3 episodes built up for it. My second complaint, and this is one that will be present throughout this show, is that we know Andor doesn't die here. We know Mon Mothma doesn't die here. We know Saw Gerrera won't die here. We know they all make it through to Rogue One, so the only characters we are at risk of losing are the ones introduced in this show. They will have 24 episodes over the 2 seasons to make us care about these new characters, so it's very possible they can pull it off. But just like in Kenobi, where we knew the ending, Disney's fear of creating new stories and their subsequent reliance on existing one harms their storytelling when we already know most of what happens in the end. Well, we've reached the point in the video where we have to decide if these episodes were a great watch or a hate watch, and I'm pleased to say that this is a great watch thus far. I would give it a 7 out of 10, as it gave a very refreshing feel to the Star Wars universe, but lacked some depth and connections to the larger galaxy. That wraps things up for today. Please remember to like the video if you liked it, comment on what you thought about the episodes, and subscribe to the channel for weekly videos on new episode releases. We are also covering House of the Dragon and the Rings of Power right now, so check out our videos on those shows if you have any interest in them. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.